There are 11 other top quarterbacks headed to the college football playoff, but Miami's Carson Beck is on a hotter streak than all of them.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, happy 1 week until game day, as Miami will play in their first ever college football playoff game next Saturday at Texas A&M. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and host of Postgame on the Hurricanes Radio Network. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. We are part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. On this loaded episode, we're going to have a couple of special guests talk about great way Miami is giving back to the community, to the kids, especially this holiday season. We're going to talk about Miami signees and top recruits doing big things in the state championships and state playoffs, state championships down at Pitbull Stadium and FIU. But let's talk about this upcoming game against Texas A&M. And folks, we've been emphasizing for the last couple of weeks that Miami's starting quarterback, Carson Beck, had some ups and downs in the earlier part of the season, but he enters the CFP as one of the top quarterbacks in America. And if you take what Carson has done, ascending over his previous 4 games, I will take his efficiency and I will take his numbers and I will take his performances over any other quarterback in the country. Shout out to Jordan McPherson, who's on the Miami Hurricanes beat for the Miami Herald, because he broke down some of the numbers for Carson Beck. And again, Miami went and got Beck out of the transfer portal last offseason, knowing they wanted to have an experienced, efficient quarterback, a guy coming out of Georgia in the SEC who's played in so many big games, has such a high football IQ, and you're seeing it pay dividends now, heading into the most important time, one of the most important games in recent program history coming up. We'll get to that. But McPherson writes, Carson Beck's completion rate, his passing yards per game, which is 281.25. This is over the past 4 games. His total passing touchdowns and his passing touchdowns per attempts, which is at 9.82%, are all tops among the 12 starting quarterbacks in the playoffs during that stretch since November 8th. Carson is also just one of 3 quarterbacks among the dozen teams in the playoff with either 1 or 0 interceptions down the stretch of the season. The other 2 are Texas Tech's Baron Morton, who has 0 interceptions, and Ole Miss's Trinidad Chambliss, who, like Carson Beck, has just 1 interception. But folks, let's look at some of these other numbers just to emphasize again. And of course, we need Carson to carry it into College Station. Good news is he's played in all of the toughest road environments in the SEC before, so this will not be Beck's first rodeo playing in one of the toughest stadiums to play. But Carson Beck, completion percentage for CFP quarterbacks over the past month. Carson Beck leads the field at 79.46%, basically 80%. Number 2 is Trinidad Chambliss at 76%. Julian Sayin of Ohio State just under 75%. So Carson leads in that category. How about passing yards per game? Beck ranks second behind only Trinidad Chambliss. And, Ole Miss's offense was obviously just balling to end the year. Now, they no longer have their head coach or offensive play caller, so we'll see how that carries into the playoff with Lane Kiffin gone. But Trinidad Chambliss at 331 passing yards per game. Carson Beck right behind him. Well, a little ways behind him, but second at 281.25. And then the next up is Tulane's Jake Retzlaff at 248. So there's a pretty big gap there between Beck at number 2 and Retzlaff at number 3. So that is passing yards per game. Then you get to yards per pass attempt. Fernando Mendoza of Indiana is slightly ahead of Carson Beck at 10.2. And then Beck comes in second at 10.0 passing yards per attempt, right in front of Trinidad Chambliss at 9.7, Jake Retzlaff at 9 even, and Oregon's Dante Moore at 8.7. So Beck is right up there in yards per attempt. Touchdown percentage, which means how many of your pass attempts are touchdown completions. Carson Beck leads that category at 9.82% in front of Mendoza at 9.38, Gunnar Stockton of Georgia at 8.73. So Beck leads that category. Interception percentage, Carson Beck is second in that category behind Morton of Texas Tech, who has thrown 0 interceptions with 0% in 116 passing attempts, and Carson Beck at 0.89, which is 1 in 112 attempts. So the numbers tell you, and of course the eye test as well, because we've all watched Beck over the past 4 games. He is playing his best football in a Miami uniform right before the college football playoff. You think about big matchups for this game, right? The things we're going to be discussing for the next 7 days. Miami's offensive line, which has only given up 11 sacks all year, versus a top Texas A&M pass rush, tied for first in the league in sacks, so something's got to give. Cashius Howell has 11.5 sacks for Texas A&M. Miami's offensive tackles, Bell and Maui Noah, have to keep him in check. Miami's running game against an Aggies defense that hasn't been great. They've given up more runs of 20-plus yards than any other team in the SEC, so Miami needs to exploit that, create some explosive plays. Miami's defensive line, which is the top graded by Pro Football Focus in the country, needs to create constant pressure against a Texas A&M offensive line that has only surrendered 12 sacks all year. And, of course, Malachi Toney against the Texas A&M DBs, Miami's DBs against KC Concepcion are some of the big matchups that we're going to be looking for. Now, something I've been thinking about these last couple days, and you guys know I was born in '84. I've been, a hardcore Miami fan essentially all my life. But like my earliest memories go back to 90, 91 when I really started to follow and understand what was going on. So obviously I've watched many national championships. I've seen many big games during my time. This game coming up against Texas A&M, can we agree this is Miami's biggest game since the Fiesta Bowl in 2003, January of 2003? You've obviously had important regular season games since that time. A lot of the matchups with Florida State over the years have been big. The matchups you've had against Florida, Miami's played, home and home against Ohio State. Ironically enough, 2 years ago, when Mario Cristobal got a win against Texas A&M at home, that was like his first kind of signature win at Miami. He's added a handful since then, of course. Miami had season opening neutral site games where they got beat up badly in a lot of these games, like against Alabama and LSU over the years. They played in an ACC championship game in 2017, lost it badly to Clemson. The win against Notre Dame that same year. These were big wins, but you haven't played a football game that at least partially decides a national championship in the past darn near 24 years, almost 24 years to the day, right? That Fiesta Bowl game where you got robbed against Ohio State. Because to me, being in the college football playoff, you got to win a few games before you're hoisting a national championship trophy. But to be in the CFP now, this coming Saturday, this is the biggest Hurricanes game, the biggest game Miami has played in, I should say, since January of 2023. So it goes to show you how excited we are. The weather is not going to be bad at all. 78 degrees next Saturday. Couldn't ask for better weather than what you're getting. Want to answer some of you guys' questions, and I want to talk about, Miami's running back signee, Javian Mallory, just blew up in the state championships. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Guys, let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugiet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rugiet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in one mint that dissolves onto your tongue so it absorbs fast. The science behind Rugiet Ready stands out. 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. Folks, you connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now is the time. head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. We're also proudly brought to you by FanDuel. Guys, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live bets with FanDuel is so exciting, because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the moment flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 podcast network. If you're a true diehard Hurricanes fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to lockedoncanes.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes below. All right, so folks, wow. I wasn't able to catch the action in person at Pitbull Stadium, but West Boca against West Broward for the state championship in their classification. Miami has got a running back commit, signee, Javian Mallory, who went off for 3 touchdowns, and West Boca beats West Broward 31-0. So Mallory was out there absolutely balling out, and man, you think about the success true freshman running backs have had at Miami in recent years. You wonder if Javian Mallory can make himself a part of that rotation next year, as we've seen what Gerard Pringle has been able to do. And Pringle, I think, is going to be one of the focal points of the offense next Saturday, because, again, like, teams have had some success with explosive running plays on the perimeter against the Aggies. That's what Gerard Pringle does. That's his bread and butter, right? Mark Fletcher and Marty Brown are going to beat you up on the inside, and Gerard Pringle can take it to the outside. So containing him is going to be something that A&M is going to try to do, right? I mean, last year, I know this year he's had his issues with injuries and hasn't really been a part of the rotation, but last year you had Jordan Lyle breaking out as a true freshman, and the year before, Mark Fletcher had an awesome true freshman season, and he's been doing it year after year after year. So Gerard Pringle might be able to get himself right in the thick of that rotation next year. And okay, so a 2027 recruit who is, he's not committed to Miami, at least not yet, and he's got some crystal balls to end up landing at Miami, is 4-star Miami Northwestern 2027 wide receiver Nick Lennear. My man dominated in the state championship. Now, I know his team suffered a shocking loss. The final 2 minutes were bonkers against Jacksonville Reigns, but Nick Lennear was the best player on the field. And again, this is someone Miami is trying to land in the class of 2027, and they're trending pretty well there. 6 catches for 135 yards, a go-ahead touchdown in the final 2 minutes, and he had an interception. He's a two-way player, Lennear. I don't think he's going to do that at Miami or wherever he goes. He's going to be a receiver, but he plays two-way at Northwestern, and just an absolutely sick performance from him. So, at the time that I'm recording this is before Darion Coleman takes the field for Orlando Jones against American Heritage on Saturday. So hopefully Miami's future quarterback goes out there and has a great game. Win or lose, we want to see Darion play well. He's only thrown 1 interception all season long. So tracking these Canes in the state championships have been a lot of fun. We get a question from Locked On Canes insider Jeff, who says, hey, since Jackson Cantwell is so good throwing the shot put and discus, will he be available to work with the track team when he enrolls early this spring? I know he plans to participate on the track team. In fact, Miami's track coach was actually a big part of recruiting him. Amy Deem, she has a good relationship with Cantwell's parents. So like I would I would assume he does it first semester. I don't know for sure, but I know at some point Cantwell is going to be part of Miami's track team because both of his parents are Olympians when it comes to throwing heavy objects, and that's something Cantwell sets state records up there in Missouri. So yeah, he is going to be part of Miami's track and field. And you know what? A great way to get Donno out to a track meet is Jackson Cantwell out there throwing. Probably he's going to be throwing human beings out there, setting records doing that. Well, he'll be doing that on Saturdays. He'll be throwing human beings, and then on the track meets he'll be throwing discus and shot put and all that. But yeah, he's going to be part of the track team for sure. 94 Canes alum says, do we think that the Gator staff chaos will open DJ Lagway to the portal? And if so, are we interested? On the are we interested part, I mean, no, I don't think so. I know Lagway had a rough year. Some of that was stuff that maybe not was in his control, and he was banged up and everything. I haven't heard any indication that he's looking to leave Florida. I might be wrong about that. But I think, the transfer quarterbacks that Miami would set their eyes on would be folks like Sam Leavitt of Arizona State. I'm going to keep my eyes on Bryce Underwood, folks. I mean, Underwood, he hasn't decided yet if he's leaving Michigan, but if he does, and you talk about coaching chaos, nobody has more chaos right now than Michigan. I mean, the Sharon Moore situation it's been a soap opera for the last few days. So if Underwood does decide to leave Michigan, and it'd be pretty easy for him to do so because there is zero buyout to his NIL deal there, Underwood obviously might consider LSU, but then LSU, there's going to be a ripple effect because LSU has also been linked to Sam Leavitt. Like, Lane Kiffin's only getting one of them. Like, he's not getting both, and whoever he doesn't get may end up going to Miami. But I'll watch out for Underwood. I'll watch out for Sam Leavitt. Brendan Sorsby of Cincinnati is a guy I'm a big fan of. Lenora Sellers of South Carolina. A lot of people link him to Miami. So I don't think DJ Lagway is on our shopping list this Christmas. Dan says, hey, the SMU and Louisville games, it seemed like our staff did not take advantage of their weaknesses. They seemed better prepared than us. Do you have confidence in Miami preparing for A&M? I do. First of all, I trust Corey Heatherman completely to prepare for A&M's offense, and A&M's offense is explosive. Like, they are one of the top explosive offenses in the country. So we've got to have an answer for Mario Craver and KC Concepcion, and an answer for Marcel Reed to keep him from escaping contain and running the football because he can hurt you with his legs. I always trust Corey Heatherman when it comes to preparation, and you saw I thought how well Shannon Dawson was dialing up Miami's offense at the end of the year, and Dawson's got his full complement of weapons back on that side of the football. I think Miami found their bag when it came to offensive rhythm and play calling. And, Texas A&M, I think that's a team that Miami matches up very well with. Physicality, Miami tends to struggle with the teams that have less talent and that throw the kitchen sink at us. Like that's not like Texas A&M is not going to be putting three quarterbacks in their backfield. Like they're not going to go to page 90 of the playbook. They're going to do what they do, and Miami's going to be prepared for it. So I have confidence that if Miami loses next week, it's not going to be because they weren't prepared. It's just going to be because they were outplayed. And hopefully Miami are the ones outplaying Texas A&M. Let's see. A user asks, hey, I really hope that this team is motivated by all the talk that Texas A&M is doing. Our Canes should be ready to play angry and with reckless abandon. I don't know. Has anybody outside of Trey Zune, the offensive lineman, has anybody else said any bulletin board material? That was the guy who we're not worried about Ruben Bain. We're going to handle him. He's not a threat. I haven't seen any other Mike Elko Mike Elko, the A&M head coach, referred to Malachi Toney as that little guy in the slot. Like it was like, I don't know if he meant it to it sounded condescending. I don't know if he intended it to sound that way, but it sounded a little dismissive of Toney. So I don't know, man. I think Miami is going to be motivated regardless of all the external factors. Folks, holiday season, and I'm a father. I know we got a lot of dads and moms out there who watch Locked On Canes. The University of Miami does something great every single year, a holiday shopping spree for, at-risk kids and kids with, tough lives out there in the community. We're going to be joined by a very familiar face when we come back, Harry Rothwell, who runs the Miami Hurricanes team store, and a very good friend of mine, former Miami assistant AD Neal Bendesky, to talk about this awesome holiday shopping spree. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Guys, the holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. Because it's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. This is a great gift for your spouse, grandparents, parents, any newlyweds in your life, anybody who loves photos. They have endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. You can add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened. Folks, for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning Locked On Canes at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Not only am I pumped for the college football playoff, I'm also pumped the holiday season, Christmas coming up, and there's a really, really important event happening in the community for the 25th consecutive year, the annual Hurricane Holiday Shopping Spree for kids in the community. Going to bring on a very recognizable face here, and another face that should be recognizable. Look at my man Harry, who's in front of the iconic Sebastian mural at the Miami Hurricanes team store. Harry, of course, runs that store. You guys know him. You love him. We're also joined by former assistant AD at the U, Neal Bendesky, who's a good friend of ours and good friend of mine here on Locked On Canes. So, Harry, you talk about giving back to the community, giving back to the kids. Tell folks out there about the Hurricanes holiday shopping spree event.
Well, it's something that Neal and I started 25 years ago when I was at All Sports. Then it was All Canes. And 3 years ago, I crossed the street and opened with the athletic department, the Hurricane team store. So it's an event that we feel very strong about. Even back in the days where we had some bad years, we always felt that we can't not give back to the community. And we've had some great partner groups that we've worked with, the PAL group, the Police Athletic League. We've had Boys and Girls Club. We work with Alex Poe, a former player, his home team group. And we've also had Brian Pata Foundation kids as well. And as you might know, that we give $95 in memory of Brian Pata, and Edwin Pata, who was with the Miami staff and now the FIU staff, comes over and gives these kids a great speech about life and about being an athlete or just a regular student or regular person, and just how to look at life through eyes that are different, because we all know we're not guaranteed anything, but the way you treat people and the way you act is very important. And, these kids over the years, I would say 90% are Miami fans, or they will be. There's been a few that kind of say, you don't have any of this or that. And I go, you know what, you're not getting anything, so you can leave now. But we have great food sponsors. The Big Cheese gets pizza. Flanagan's gets his chicken wings. Crepe Maker makes the best dessert crepes around. And, it's just something that everybody that helps. And we get guest shoppers. So we have coaches, former players, current players, different sports. We have cheerleaders and dancers, and of course, Sebastian the Ibis, and they'll each take a student or one of the students that comes in. And these are all elementary school age kids, and they will help them shop. And so they help them figure out what $95 can buy, which probably today is not as much as it could buy 25 years ago when we started, but nonetheless, we work with them and we help them make the holiday happy for them. And so many of them, which is really kind of cool, are buying for either their brother and sister, or their mom or dad, or somebody. It's not just a selfish thing they're buying just for them. So it really becomes a family shopping event. And they're sitting there looking at their list and checking it twice, and finding out who's going to get what, or who's the big Kane family. And then some kids are going to buy jerseys or whatnot with the money. So we're here to make it a great experience, a great memory, and try to help people become future Canes, future athletes for the university, donors, ticket holders, and whatnot. And it's funny because now, being 25 years into this, I mean, we've had kids that have come back and said, I remember coming to your shopping spree when I was in third grade, and now they're in college and stuff. So we have made an impact to the community, and one that, I think I know I'm very proud of. I know Neal's proud of it. And we don't do it for any accolades or anything else. We just think it's the right thing to do. It's a fun thing to do, and everyone has participated, has always enjoyed doing it. People can help sponsor a kid. We have some great corporate sponsors that have helped us do this for years, including Milan's Market and Flanagan's and Big Cheese and 324 Creative and the John Cavelli Foundation. It's just a great event, and we can't wait till next week to do it.
That's awesome.
And by the
man.
way, if anybody's out there and wants to come by and watch these kids participate in this event,
Yeah.
help out, or just see a bunch of smiling faces, you're more than welcome from 4:30 to 6 on Tuesday or Wednesday night next week.
I love that. And man, thinking about the kids, that's what, being a dad and everything, it pulls on my heartstrings. I want these kids to have an awesome Christmas, an awesome holiday season. Neal, Harry, mentioned that, you guys have done this event for 25 years. This is the 25th annual, which is an awesome milestone. Congratulations to you both.
I started when I was 10.
Harry, come on. No, really. I think you were younger than that.
Yeah, he was 8. He was a strapping young lad. Oh, man, but Neal, tell folks about the background. How did you guys come up with this idea to give back in this way?
Well, first of all, kudos to the heart of it. That guy right there, Harry. Yeah, that's you. We all, when he made the switch, I used to call him, Mr. Whatever, Canes, and he still is, because his heart is orange and green, and those out there that know that. So for me, I was an event person. I worked, at the U. When we won championships, when Mario was a player, right? So we promoted. In fact, we did a program called "Join a Team, Not a Gang" with Carlos Huerta and Coach Erickson. Back in the day, and Mario's brother. So bigger picture is that when I was doing events, at first I heard Junior Seau did this program called Shop with a Job. So I went, at the time I was representing Sam Madison. So our coach, Jason Taylor, was part of what we started, at that time with the Dolphin players going to Sports Authority. So I went to Harry, and, at the time, the owner of All Canes, Bob Bello, and his wife, Gigi, and we said, hey, we think this would be a really good thing. And then the athletic department, really bought into the support of it. And that's how we get the IBIS and the coaches. And at first we couldn't do current players, obviously, with, the way things have changed with NIL, that's possible. But, and it's really cool. I mean, a couple of years ago, Ruben Bain was there, Coach Cristobal was there, last year, JD Ardiega was there. So it's really been a labor of love for us to go behind the scenes. I want to do a shout out to Bill Archer, who's obviously in heaven now,
Yes.
from the Big Cheese, because, he was a guy that, in the beginning was there. Jimmy Flanagan, everybody knows Flanagan's, he was there in the beginning. Norm, from Milam's Market. These are people that saw our vision, to grow, Crate Maker, Maria. So these type of people are difference makers. And look, your program is very committed to the University of Miami community. So Harry and I are very appreciative that we can at least tell our story and let people know that, yeah, they better wear orange and green when they walk out of that store, right?
Yeah.
All right. And it was interesting. I used to coach youth baseball, and I had a kid in South Miami that we coached against, and he came up to me, like Harry said, the kids come back and they say, hey, Coach Neal, I remember you at the shopping spree. So, it has transcended into something where people in the community remember and appreciate. And let's face it, it's all about the you, baby, right?
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, I'm going to include info in the show description below. It's going on this Tuesday and Wednesday, 4:30 to 6 p.m. at the Hurricanes team store below the Thesis Hotel, Coral Gables, on US 1. It's an awesome spot and an awesome location. But before I let you gentlemen go, Harry, I'll start with you, and then Neal. I need you guys' predictions for Miami against Texas A&M in the college football playoff. And don't be picking A&M, gentlemen. Harry, who you got next Saturday?
You know better than that, man. 35-21 Miami.
First of all, I like that score. But I'm going to tell you something, Alex, like I've told you recently. If we run the football, I think like we can, there's been 4 other opponents that have had 200 yards or more against Texas A&M. And obviously the quarterback position is important. So I'm going to go with Harry's score. I like it, 35-21. Send those 12th man people home unhappy.
Yeah, I want to see Bain perform against our offensive lineman at Taco.
Yeah, that was a nice shot.
Yeah,
right?
that Trey Zune is picking a fight with Bain. Bain's got to make him pay.
If you go back to when Miami played Texas out there many years ago, and their offensive lineman had a lot of talking. That didn't turn out so well with him. So
ask Robert Bailey, right? You know, that 1991 Cotton Bowl, he predicted, he says, I'm going to knock the guy out in the first play on the kickoff. Now, nobody's going to talk like that in today's world, but,
right.
Especially
we've got a couple players that do some talking. I promise you.
I get it. But they're not going to go and say, I'm going to knock the guy out. But that was pretty cool.
Well, I hear this team's really focused and looking forward to an opportunity that we're all excited and proud about, and we couldn't be any happier to see Miami go after another national championship, because 6 would be really a cool number.
And it's exciting for me to see Mario as the player, now as the coach in that position for our team.
Homegrown, baby.
Yeah, I mentioned on a recent episode, I don't think I'd ever said this on the show before, but people were like surprised. So my back in late 80s, early 90s, my father was Mario Cristobal's professor, and now we're full circle, right? It's like it's amazing. It's amazing how things come full circle like that.
Yeah, and it also makes you feel really old when you realize that he was a player, now he's a coach, or you have these players that their kids are now on teams or whatever. But I couldn't be any happier being around the University of Miami fans, the program, and we may not have as many fans, but our fans are as loyal and it's true. And when they're fired up, and I know everybody's excited on sales in the store. We can prove it, and we just can't wait till next Saturday.
I love it. Well, thank you both, Harry and Neal. Happy holidays to you both, and let's get a W next Saturday night. And guys, again, make sure you're, and if you want to sponsor a kid, there's a great opportunity to do that for this awesome holiday shopping spree for the kids. Thank you all so much. Thanks to Harry. Thanks to Neal. Thanks to the Everydayers. We'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.